Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag, on the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the United States, one state, under God, indivisible.
One important announcement. And it's just the budget workshop guidelines. And it's to help us to have a productive and respectful budget workshop. I ask that we all observe the simple guidelines, that we stay on topic. The focus is the budget and the agenda item under discussion. If any additional information is needed, we may postpone that item and return during the budget workshop 2 or 3 after the staff has had the opportunity to gather the necessary information. Members of the public are always welcome, but anyone wishing to speak must first be recognized by the mayor before addressing council. So let's treat one another with courtesy and respect. We may not always agree, but we will remain professional. Remember our purpose. Every discussion should be guided by what is in best interest of the citizens of Blanco and the long-term health of our community. Public comments.
Good evening. The streetscape concept was July 2021, and MOA was amended between KBB, the city, and the food stations. Project, however, predates all of the organizations. And unfortunately, the streetscape project has become the ownership of the streetscape committee of the cities and streetscape and gets taken care of. So here's where we currently stand. We've got designs that we finalized from Main Street Architect for Con Street, and we finalized it. We're almost to the building paper. We're short, but the final paper from the design for the so it's actually funding. The design and funding for the PVC utility line location. Don't know the number on it yet. We still need to finalize negotiation with PVC to see if we can get them to pay for the design. We don't have a clue what it's going to cost. But if we have to pay for it, it's going to be done. Estimating that's probably going to be $40,000 to keep it on the square board. The sidewalk design for Third Street, which will be our next piece when we finish on design with Third Street, that will be another $55,000. Funding, we just got turned down for another $1 million PDA community development block grant because of the city. People are fighting with too much money. So we're at this point looking for more grants. We're also going to be small and large donors, local events, Hamburger Ranch, and Blanco. Yeah. And we're continuing to do small events, but that's small dollars. That's going to help us try to collect more money, but trying to fund this whole project. So we're looking for large donors. In order to get large donors, we have to have the county system. And so some of these people want to do it. So we get the conference to show how the funds set up in the city that house any large donation. Yes. Because I have the accounting, with management, insurance. interest-bearing account, all the things that we can ensure big donors that they're confident we're gonna spend the money to bring in care.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I want you to raise your share with streetscape to $30,000. Get us well on the way for either the PDC deadline or the church.
It's all of him. To let y'all know that this didn't just get started a few years ago. This got started at the first day of the comprehensive master plan meeting in Bobby Max in 2004. This all got started when Spoken out. One of the road master plan said, "Brother, I think that you should get the city to ask for the visionary preservation program so that it can walk alongside of the comprehensive master plan and help make it work." So we went to work that day. Candy, first one, the mayor and I were one of the two first ones put in the application. It took 3 years to get approved for that. This is the plan that's the same, that walks alongside of the comprehensive master plan. This has streetscape in it. That's where it came from. It was approved by the city in October of 2007. And we had a meeting up at the, somewhere out north, one of the buildings out north, and this was presented to Jim Roderick. So it's not something new. And the last thing, though, was that when the city in 2007, when they did, no, 2010, when the city did a resolution that we signed and the city signed, and streetscape to start this committee. That was in 2007, 10. So we started the committee in 2010. We've been working on it not only from 2004, but from 2010 as a committee. Also with the management agreement, I typed it all up and then I didn't have a printer to read it all for y'all, so y'all excuse me. But that's what I wanted y'all to understand. So we've been raising money all this time. In 2010, we've been raising money. So to you, and I do have the history of that here, and but I didn't have each type copies of these. Our Blanco Streetscape Project financial look as of July 21st, 2026. We've already paid one phase, one agreement to our architect, that's our schematic, that's $15,000 we paid. It came to 54.5, the next one. And it will show you where we are on that. And so hopefully, like I think he explained it, the construction part on phase 1, hopefully she's ready to bring it to us on the end of August and to be able to start phase 2. So I will tell you all that on this, and I will send you my story by email. I'm going to give you these. But please remember, we do have a plan, and it's also being brought up with the comprehensive master plan.
Thank you. Okay, new business. Consideration is.
I did forget to say one thing, I support these $30,000.
I lost my mind.
That's why I was standing out there to support it.
Consideration, discussion, and take possible action on approval of resolution 2026 R-011 water supply and infrastructure grant. Requesting financial participation from the Texas Water Development Board, authorizing the filing of an application for financial participation and making certain findings in connection therewith.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm not going to speak very long. Basically, the next two things are pretty quick. The new business item number 1 and number 2, which are essentially a request to have basically the affidavits approved and a resolution approved to apply for 2 different grants. And then our engineer, or one of our engineers, Joey Kendricks with SPI, to kind of explain the process. And at this point, you're not really obligated to do anything other than the resolution and see if we get both grant funding and low cost financial funding. So Jerry, just explain this a little bit more and get the questions from you.
Fair Council, Jerry Hendricks, representing Schaumburg, Blanco City Engineer. We're here with 2 very similar resolutions, both asking you to approve our submittal of grant applications on your behalf. First one is from Texas Water Development Board, money through the Water Supply and Infrastructure Grant Program, which is new to the Water Development Board this year. You qualify for $10 million complete grant, no obligation to pay back money. And we're getting a grant for you to have to develop your water reuse program. So, if it's pass this particular program, we're also developing that grant for the next round of applications. So, with this resolution for the particular Water Supply and Infrastructure Grant Program, it's up, caps at $2 million. We're going to try to get official water supply reuse.
All that big number.
Yeah. So the next one is a very similar resolution. You apparently have been awarded by the Texas Water Development Board on that service line replacement grant. That grant is $3 million. I'm not familiar with the term. I think it's mostly loan forgiveness.
It's 51% loan forgiveness and it'd be 49% payment, low interest payment.
But your initial application was accepted by the Water Development Board, and previous engineer has submitted and follow up on it. So John Smelling has been working really hard the past week or so to get follow up on that. We got the Water Development Board to give us an extension. We're getting the paperwork finalized and submitted as part of that. And we're reviewing the application. One of the things John has found out that the amount of money requested doesn't match up with the amount of work requested. So we talked to the Water Development Board about that. So as we continue to fine tune the cost, we'll keep you and your CMAC committee advised of where we are with that. And come back with a recommendation on the best way to spend either $3 million or how much more money we can take to get the whole project. So the both resolutions are requested by the Water Development Board or required by the Water Development Board. Of course, to submit their application for those 2 programs. And so
The 10 million is the water system and the reuse improvements.
right.
The work that's up to that.
The city had no financial obligation.
The city has no financial obligation.
The 10 million doesn't, but the 3 million does.
Only if you choose to accept it.
Yeah.
Even if you get all the way to the end and you're offered to close on that amount of money, you decide you don't want to go through with it, you can pass on it, and then we can resubmit.
That one kind of reminds me of the lift station. That part of it was forgiven and part of it was a low interest market.
So the first one that Jerry explained is no obligation. The second one is the heat line or red line issue that we have. Now, we don't have any lead in our system. Let me be very clear about it. What we do have is about 500 service lines that have galvanized pipe, which some places that will now. Now's probably the year to do that, 2037. But the idea is if we have the money now, if there's money in the state to help finance most of that, then we start working on it. If it's not something we do now, certainly not. If more than half of that paid for, we actually.
Any reason that we couldn't have the $2 million of free money?
Would either of them impact possible 2026, 2026?
Second, Councilmember, the second one depends on when we have to start paying that. Might affect this budget, on the interest and sinking. It wouldn't be on the regular budget of interest and sinking because, what you promised the citizens when we passed the bond, let's say we can go above 5%, total AV or assessed value. So it could push other projects back a little bit, but we would have to look at the timing and
So with both these programs, you'll review them, and if you're invited to continue the process, then you go to the water development board, and you have to further develop the project. You're ready to go, and then you have to close. But typically, that close happens in late spring or early summer. As part of the negotiation with the board, you can wait for payments to happen in subsequent budget. So that's my understanding of everything for that. That's,
So it would probably be in the 27 budget.
right, so we wouldn't be forced to amend your current budget that you're in.
In 728.
It's gonna be either at one point.
All part of negotiation.
Out of this feedback meeting, John's doing a great job. He laid out a schematic about everything that's scheduled. Does this enhance it or change it up in any way?
The lead service line, part of that, but a lot of what we have in the water supply infrastructure is part of your capital improvement plan, not all of it. We're trying, we've added water reuse component with and some other things that are in your bond issue covenants so that we can get the water development.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Somebody something?
I will make a motion that we approve both resolution 2026-R-012, business item 1, in concert with resolution 2026-R-013, business item number 2.
Motion and second, all of those in discussion.
The only thing I asked for discussion is should it, we both got it.
I would do this probably separately. It's a photo, you do them separately. Okay.
Thank you.
Johnson and
Thank you, Councilmember Russell. I will amend my motion. So I move that we approve resolution 2026-R-012, business item number 1.
Motion, I have a second, is there any discussion?
So, did you have anything to say? Add to that? Okay.
If not, all those in favor? All opposed? 0.
Okay, moving on. I move that we approve resolution 2026-R-013, new business item number 2.
Have a motion and a second, do I have any discussion on that one? All those in favor? Opposed? 0. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Sorry to have extra work.
No, I think that was a super. Thank you, Councilman.
And there's 2 different,
That makes.
do I need to do these right now?
Yes.
So, yeah. We will start the advisory workshop. Is everybody in? Also, Did you change them again?
No changes.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Like, I'll talk just a little bit of the process for about 5 minutes. And then, we'll start the process. But I want to just kind of focus a few notes about how we can do this or how we've done this before and kind of what makes sense here. So the process of the budget, it's really about your priorities and your wanting as council. How do you start? Start with the budget that we had last year, and we start looking at a couple of things. Jose did a great job. He takes a look at the money, the revenue that we're getting this year versus what we had last year. We have some preliminary numbers. The reason why you couldn't approve it tonight, well, I don't know where to get through all of this anyway, but if the only reason we couldn't do tonight is because we don't have the actual numbers. But let's talk about the process would be, we'll start going through everything kind of area by area. So we'll start with the first area, which is the council, through the next. If you have questions on any line item, we can certainly look at that. What we had done last year was staff and talk to the mayor about this a little bit. We put together a budget and anything you want to move, anything you decide that you want less or more of. If you have two other council members that agree with you, we'll make a change. So that's kind of the process that we've worked with before. So I'll talk a little bit about the process. So you have basically, and it's a little bit more complicated. This is basically have three major funds. You have the general fund, the enterprise fund, and you have the interest expense. General fund is what administration, PD, to some extent, parks, streets, although we're going to share that responsibility. Enterprise is the water and sewer. We're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to move on from infomarketing as a council choose to, or appropriate those funds to the actual enterprise public works. And then interest sync, what it sounds like, which is that service, sort of just what to stop. I want to mention to you also that the council rule is really vital. A lot of places, city manager will just hand you the budget and say, hey, approve this, and there's a few changes, and that's it. But I really think it's really valuable to go through this as much as we can, because we're a small staff. Before you have found inefficiencies, the different things that the council has found, and I find that really beneficial. I think the residents do too. So this is not a, we have to do it this way. This is, I think, the community and both council has enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, but please appreciate it. You also want to mention, just before we really get started, so the consumer price index kind of jumps around, and this last month, the yearly amount on it was 3.5%. I think in January, it was 2.4%, and it's been bouncing around. And this year, it is going to probably settle in around 3.2. So when you're asked, as a council, why do we raise utility rates? Why do we raise taxes? I'll let you know that some of that's because we have a CPI increase every year. There's been some years, I think, right after COVID, I think we had 8%, but we had as low as 2%. So if you look at that CPI, that is a real reason. The state allows you to do a 3.5% annual increase. That's what we have in this budget, but last year we're at 2.5%. So I do want to let you know that as you're looking at this, and there have been years that we have had new revenue, but that doesn't really keep up with the expenses of CPI, with staff getting raises, those different things. So that's kind of the philosophy. But I do want to mention one other thing. I think I sent this to you. When we talk about numbers, I want to be really clear about this. We talk about different numbers. If someone wants to add or subtract $10,000 in overall budget, what does that actually mean to a resident? What that means, and I think I sent this to you, most, I would say all, but the median home in Blanco is about $300,000. And if you add or subtract $10,000, that would add or subtract $7.98 for the whole year, for their tax. For $300,000, in this case, $312,000 home, their taxes is currently $1,279.82 just for the city. But when you look at the whole thing, the ESD number 2, the county, groundwater, and the Blanco ISD at a rate of 1.7594%, their overall taxes is just slightly below $5,500. So I want everybody to understand what, I'm sure you use, as most of you are property owners, but that is the cost of a resident that has a home that's. And so that is kind of where we, I take very seriously, increase it or decrease it, the budget. So having said that, I think we'll go ahead and get started, and I will pull it up. But again, this is a great pleasure for me to present this to you, and then I can start not making sense. Jose will jump in. That one.
Okay. I base those numbers that we were talking, Warren was talking about, the increase or decreasing by $10,000. I base that on the current tax rate, the current rate this year. And then I did back check my numbers, and I came within 2 big numbers of what is calculated. So pretty confident with that number, numbers. But again, anybody would like to review that with me, ask me more than that. So.
Now, for your question before you.
I'm just curious, nothing I want to belabor tonight, but I'm just curious if there is a particular referential point for CPI. I looked at CPI too. At least what I saw, and I'm not very studious with this kind of thing, but I saw maybe more like 2.5%.
Yeah, I thought it was about 2.9. I was looking at it today, and it was actually from the U.S. government, and they were talking about, so they every month they'll say it's this percentage. So this month, of course, the summer is on the high side. It's like right now 3.5. But do you think you'll eat that down to 3.2? But I think earlier this year, in January and February, it was 2.4. We probably see an average. I think last year was 2.9, and that's I think why the council adopted 2.9% ad valorem. In the end, those percentage differences probably don't make a huge difference, but if, for example, you did no new revenue rate and did it for 3 years, and all of a sudden you're behind. So if 1 year you only want 1% or 2%, it's probably not detrimental. But that would mean the next year that you're just a tiny bit behind on that. So that's what I look at it. The other thing I want to mention is I know a lot of you wanted to. We're gonna have basically 3 of these meetings and a 4th if you really needed it. So I think tonight the goal is to go to 8 o'clock and kind of see where we're at stopping point. I'm not saying it's stop right at 8, but I don't think I want to go to 10 tonight. So I think this is kind of a lot of talking. So I think that's what we'll do is just start going through this and then questions. And then one other thing I'll say is it is very important that we get these numbers right. But in the end, it is really about having your revenues exceed your expenses. So what I always do when I first look at this is I always go to the general summary, and that was the first thing I did is, are we over or under? And then we start working on it. So the revenues, I don't know if there's much for you to look at this point.
And our base revenues on 3.5%. We don't have numbers from the county yet. I just got the worksheet. In the process of filling that out, getting it back to them. I'll get with Candace to see how long it takes to get tentative numbers for ad valorem back, which is going to give us the revenue rate 3.5. Anything beyond that. So, I'll meet with Candace probably tomorrow and finalize those numbers with her. So we can actually start looking at actual, M&O and INS numbers, that you're gonna see in the budget and the revenue side. So,
We expect the numbers to be, for ad valorem to be slightly less than last year with some of the values.
yeah, we did get the values right now, and it's about 373 million, which is close to last year, which I think was like 376. So it's dropped a little bit, but that's still in flux because we do have some protests that are out there that have not been finalized yet. But they do reduce what is being protested right now. Give us that. But again, that will be finalized. I guess it's next week or two. To get numbers back to Candace tomorrow, I'll get with her and see what's going on. Because she prepares the tax worksheets, and then we review them and make sure the numbers look right. And that's when we come to you, come to council and discuss where do we want to be. Whether it's at 3.5%, which we're allowed to do at all, or lower, or is it not? It's on what you want to use.
And Joe, then we also have the sales tax that kind of saved us because it looked like about 3.5% higher than it was last year.
Yes, yeah, sales tax is doing really well, mixed beverage is doing really well, so, but again, I was conservative and just left it at a flat 3.5%.
Now, that's what I wanted to get into.
Sure.
I feel good on the hard revenue. There's obviously our ad valorem. Not easily much variability there, but the variable revenues.
Oh,
The city sales tax that is 68% of the income. I know there's some nuances of working at 60. What you think on the sales?
yeah, we should be able to spend it.
Okay.
What I do is I get a report every month that shows historically how we've been doing. If you can definitely see the trend where we're just. So that's what I'm basing my numbers on, is that you don't see sales tax going down, and then again, I would expect that to rise.
So we're not just planning on flat 3.5% increase on it.
Yeah.
Based on.
It's based upon real numbers,
Real
and I can provide that number.
So it's over 50% of our revenue on the general fund. Make sure that's
So
forecasted accurately. Sure. Now, that's kind of one of my big things I worry about is. Yeah.
and I tend to be conservative because, again, I don't want to put a big number out there and then we fall short. So I look at high side, low side, and then I kind of, be conservative and fall somewhere in that middle ground. But I do base that on what I'm seeing as far as trends.
That's good to feel that's achievable numbers.
I think that it's very achievable.
I think it's a good question, Councilmember. With revenues, with the budget, I could tell you that 6 or 7 I've done, we've never busted the budget on the expense side, but the revenue side is harder to forecast. I mean, expense, you just follow budget expense, but with the revenue, if you don't get enough money, you're kind of.
And definitely, I think that points to that I'm able to access. It looks the last 20 years of sales tax. And there's the years that 2008, 2010, when you're going through as a whole country as a whole, just not doing very well. You can see the sales tax numbers drop. But then as we do better, coming out of the recession, you see what numbers coming back. So I'll definitely buy those. It gives me a little bit more confidence that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
So that is the ad valorem and the sales tax. There's some other revenues, franchise fee, some smaller police revenue, then there's some miscellaneous, fees. It doesn't look like much of that has changed.
No, a lot of that
on
has
your
not
revenues.
changed. This year in the PD grants, we have not received, very much revenue there. But I know right now we're working on a couple grants that we've gotten, and we're gonna actually,
I just reapplied for the LCRA grant, the one that we were denied last cycle. So I have reapplied. They've already reached back out to me for some corrections. And they gave me some tips on how to get extra points out of my submission. So I was just waiting for the closure and them to tell us whether we get it or not.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You need to get back and talk about the franchise fees.
Yes, sir.
I think those ought to be put into a special fund. There was a situation last year talking about moving some of the PVC lines underground, and they came back and said, yeah, fine, as long as you use the franchise fees, for the engineering. And I think for other things as well, franchise fees could be in special funds instead of going just into the general revenue. For other uses that come up. For everything to be going into the general fund means that nothing gets left aside for other projects that develop.
Did you pull together some research on that?
Do what?
Did you pull together research and stuff on that you can share or anything? I was just curious because I'd be interested to learn more about communities that have already done that. And
So if you as a council agree to that, then that basically takes 117. What's the amount? So your franchise fee, $117,000 out of the general fund. That's a game changer. So before everybody agrees to that, think about then we're going to have to make up $117,000 for franchise fee that it's not being spoken for. So I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying if you're going to do that, then think about, because we have this based on what we did last year, based on what we think we're going to make this year, and expenses balance with that. But this is a game changer. So before y'all agree to that, I would think about it.
Well, there are a lot of things that the city wishes they could do, but do not have the money for. And having this franchise fees in the special fund, when those projects arise, the money would be available. One would be $30,000 for the streetscape. That would be one application for that. We really do need to hire a grant writer. And $117,000 would certainly cover the expense of that. They're just, this building needs work, and we don't have the money for it. Okay, fees from the franchise fund would apply to that. And we don't have any money because we don't save it. We're putting it aside and we shake down for them. And if our franchise fees would be perfect solution to that. That's fine.
And we have been saving some money. We are working on that. Saving money. I mean, we do have, we had excess revenue as opposed to expenditures this last year. I think our goal is $500,000 in general, is that correct?
Yeah.
600.
So council member, it would be, generally we want 3 months of operating expense budget on the enterprise and on the general fund. The general fund right now is at 491. I think 3 months or something like 520. We're pretty close on
yeah,
that. And then on the enterprise side, we only have about $110,000, and I think the 3 months is almost 650,000. We're way behind on the enterprise.
right. And that is part of what was proposed during the rate study. I try to build up that reserve.
And every year we try to jump, we probably try to put 50 or 60 or $70,000 on both. I mean, and we've been doing that. I think we haven't got to the bottom of this yet, but if you look at it, I think, actually, we can go there real quick. We'll go to summary general fund graphics. That's what this budget, you didn't touch anything. That's what this proposed budget would do, is would be putting $60,000 into the rainy day.
Essentially, that's the money that's left over after all the budgets and everything, get all there, $60,000.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Well, but it's
that's not near 117,000.
But if, for instance, it became, if council did decide they wanted to prioritize a line item for $30,000, that's what we're here to do. We have that ability to do that.
Okay.
Joe, I'm probably gonna need some hand holding. It doesn't need to happen here, but I did go through the budget line by line. And, the thing, well, first off, I'm so appreciative that we have the year-to-date percentage where we are. That was an addition that was made last budget cycle. So helpful. So,
And what, I just updated the numbers through June, so I'm gonna, my thoughts, I want to update that.
okay,
Hopefully tomorrow.
okay.
Takes a little bit of time because I gotta move a lot of numbers around.
But this is through May right now.
Yeah, this is through May.
6%.
But I think,
So
June is a little bit more tell.
okay, so I know this is not how it works in the real world, but I'd love to see 66% all the way down,
Yes, of
right?
course, that's.
I know that's not how revenue necessarily comes in, and I know that's not how our expenditures work either. But I did go line by line, and anything I flagged anything that I just used 14%. I'm not even sure how I got that, but if it was over 14%, so we were at 80%, I thought, well, maybe we're budgeted a little high on the side. If it was below 14%, so at like 52, maybe we need to do something there. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, that's.
I just would like to make sure that if council decides to add a percentage, whether it's 3.5 or something else, onto a number, I'd like to make sure that those numbers are the best number we can provide with the data that we have from this last year, and maybe that it would even necessitate looking, on a previous year, but I would be happy just to concentrate on what we've done this year and what we think we're going to do.
Yeah, so let me update those numbers. And,
Okay.
Get those.
Because there's some things, right? I mean, if I just pick one, and this might be an anomaly, it might not be fair, but under miscellaneous income, that's at 1,921%, right?
Where is that, Councilman?
That's under miscellaneous income, under general fund revenue.
4170.
Ooh, thank you, Mayor. 4170. New eye doctor in town is great, but I haven't got my glasses he has prescribed
Oh,
me yet, so forgive me.
Oh, yeah, go up, other income. Go up, look at that. 41.
Oh, there it is. Sorry about that.
4170.
Now, I understand that might be, I'm sure it is absolutely, explainable, but, I just want to make sure that in for the sake of transparency,
Sure.
that we're offering numbers that are realistic based on what we're doing and what we think we're going to do.
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers behind that, but yeah, definitely.
That's just an example, but again, anything that we were at 80%, maybe we don't have enough budget, and anything we were at 52%, I thought, well, maybe we've got too much, right? So, and I can, you and I, I could go do that with you on a one-to-one basis, and you can tell me all the ways that this project doesn't make sense, right? But that's kind of what I did.
No, I think that's what you did with
I
last year.
can't help it. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
with
did
that
that
new
before.
column,
And you
it's
did
very
find some
helpful to me.
areas that we modified.
I wish we could add that column too to the summaries, the general fund summary, the enterprise summary, so that we have that year to date on where.
Yeah, I'll add them to all.
I think that would be great too.
Yeah, I'll add them to all the.
One of the things I ran into through the budget years is, one figure that I would like to know is that I know have. Fund balance projected at the beginning of the fiscal year.
In the interest of transparency, I wonder if Ward zoom in a little bit.
Sure.
I
Yeah, we can do that.
Software.
Okay, sometimes I think that would help with things, when you know, fund balance.
Yeah, and we get that on the audit financials.
Okay.
So, we can look again, what I look at, where we've been in the past, where we're going. And that kind of gives you a pretty good indicator of the path of where everything. But yeah, definitely.
And Joe, and this may not make sense to you either, but there's a lot of lines where they seem to be no longer applicable. And I know last year I probably had some lines taken out. Well, we never marked that would be applicable today, like, we weren't using anything. But there are quite a few lines where there's nothing spent, nothing brought in, nothing budgeted. I mean, do we need those lines to stay in here? I just want it to be as clean as possible.
Yeah. And it's a lot easier to manage when you don't have. We got a lot of accounts.
Okay, so that might be difficult.
Okay.
They might, yeah, and if that's the case.
What's that?
Yeah, no, if it's helpful to you, if there's a reason to have them, then,
Yeah, I guess when we get there, you can point out to Joe why, if there may be a reason why you still have it and not have it.
If you need them,
If you need them,
then you need them, you need them.
it's more transparent to have the votes.
I just want to make sure that if we're not going to spend what we budgeted, we don't think we're going to spend what we budgeted this previous year, that we don't just blindly add 3.5% or whatever percentage to a number that was already not a great number. That doesn't mean that we don't move that money somewhere else. Doesn't mean that,
Well, we don't budget for it, but we don't have to go out.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Councilman,
Yes,
can
sir.
I
Please.
inject something real fast
Yes,
on
please.
this? The problem with removing lines like that is because of previous years, those line items did have things. And then if you go and remove it, now you're altering those previous years' budgets. And that money doesn't quite line up. That's from my understanding, because I'm one of those people, I want everything very clean and clear. And whenever I asked Joe about removing line items, he was like, well, if we remove it, it might alter a previous budget.
Well, what will happen if you remove it is you lose the history. You don't lose the history in this, we got in the system. You lose the history on what's going on here. So it may be good to have it just for purposes of, you have an account.
I'm not stuck
Still
on
have it
this.
at zero, but at least you know that we've had history in the past. So maybe leaving it at zero, and then after 2 years when no activity.
I'm not stuck on it, but I mean, if we didn't spend anything in the previous year for a line item, I'm gonna need a pretty good explanation on adding to that when we spent nothing this previous year. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are examples of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anything else on the revenue that you have questions on?
And like I mentioned in my reports, this licenses and permits, we're doing very well
Uh-huh.
with that. And again, anomalies is a good one. Is right now the schools, they just got this bond where they're doing some construction work. Well, our permits We just got an estimate for the most recent permit. We got an additional, I think, 10 million that they're going to reduce the renovation. $49,000. Now, if you look at our permits, it's not anywhere close to that. That's an anomaly, so we have to kind of consider
And that's
those,
why I need
those
you,
one-offs.
that's right.
Uh,
So since you're in that vicinity, under certificates of occupancy, we budgeted 1,500. Year to date, we're at 3,300. So we're at 221%.
yes. Yeah,
Is that an anomaly, or should that number be changed so that we can be more realistic about it?
and one, you'll have to back me up on this. The one thing that we had with Selena, haven't had in the past, is that she understands permitting, code enforcement. And some of these revenues that you're starting to see pop up like that.
Yeah.
Where in the past, they may have been pursued.
So maybe with our new staff in place, we
she's a-
should adjust that
Yes,
number
yeah,
up.
so
right?
we'll need to look at that.
Okay.
Yes.
So instead of, a budget of 1,500, maybe it should be closer to,
We actually have, and Haynes did the same thing with STRs, where maybe somebody has not been registered with the city, they're registered with the state, because they've got to file their STR top taxes, but they may not be with the city, and then through the work that Haynes did, determine, hey, you're doing it right with the state, but you also need to register with us.
if we have a pretty good sense that we're gonna have a higher expectation for some of these revenue lines, we wanna know it, right? We wanna know we've got that, I wanna budget for it.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Well, there's also gonna be a cost, of, like, for example, the school, there's also gonna be a cost behind it on your cost.
Yeah, so,
So you're not really gonna get more money, you're already get higher revenue, and higher expense.
yeah, you're gonna see the expense jump way up.
So we need to adjust both numbers.
Yeah, we gotta
Okay.
just, yeah.
All right, now, any other comments or opinions about putting the franchise fees into a special fund? I have any other thoughts on that?
I don't have enough information about that Councilmember DePuy. I mean, if that's something you want to pursue, let's look at it. I just don't know anything about it. I mean, right now, that money is available to us in the general fund to budget as we see fit. But if there's a compelling argument that can be made that.
Well, maybe the next budget.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so total revenues, looks like there's a slight increase. We've been talking about that, so even with the ad valorem maybe go down a little bit, some of these other items, looks like that looks like about 3%.
Yeah,
Or so. So that's kind of year in year, that's what we're kind of. Any other questions on revenues before we go to the expenditure?
Not today.
So here are the council expenditures. We want to take a look at that. And keep going down.
I mean, just if you just want, again, I'm not gonna belabor it, but if you want to take that as an example, I mean, we're only at 30% of what we budgeted for council. So it seemed to me that number might be artificially high.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, because I would think that we should be at 66%.
Here's what was explained to us.
Oh, okay, well then enlighten me, I can't, you have a better memory.
Yeah. So I have brought that up before because obviously some do take their stuff and some don't. And
Right.
I want to adjust
I'm
that.
starting to remember, I do remember you talked about
And
this
then
last, but.
when I brought that up, our finance director made a good point that sometimes those council numbers change and there may be some over. And then yeah. We were trying to have in the budget nonsense. Various issues.
Good
Which
point.
it made sense to me, and
Okay.
I was pinching on that last time, on last budget.
All right. I'll back off.
I'd be welcome a little bit.
Yeah, and what, the one thing I've noticed is, and again, thing to consider is the items, hotel and the stuff's related to travel. A lot of that has not really been. Are we expecting to do travel on? We expecting to do conferences, the Elementary Alliance, charges, $500, I think, for the membership. So maybe look at those kinds of things. But,
Okay.
the one thing that I did look at, increasing was, and again, that entertainment is misleading meals, because I think, we've started providing, when it's gonna be expected, a long meeting, we have, meals, for council members, so I upped that a little bit, because I'm thinking maybe 4 meals, a year.
And that's what I'm talking about, Joe, exactly. So on that one, we're at 85%.
Right.
And that, what you're doing makes sense if we're gonna continue to do that. That's exactly how to change it.
Yeah, I will just explain. I know a lot of people had a lot of long meetings, and you could have what, you know, meetings are not as long and not have to worry about dinner, but then we might have to meet twice a month. And I don't know if I'm there at that point where I want to do that yet. So that's why the meetings get longer. Sometimes we bring in dinners.
Subway from Johnson City might be cheaper than staff time for an additional meeting. Is that the point?
That would be the point, or your time as well, because you know, if you, it's not, there's never 1 hour meeting. Even if you split it up and you say, oh, we need 4 hours every meeting, it's not going to be split evenly, make it 2. Somehow we'll find a way to make it a 3-hour meeting. So,
Sure, pretty good.
anything else under that section for city council?
There's a lot of lines that are not being utilized there, but maybe that's for good reason. But
Some might change.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one that probably sticks out in my mind is the rental fees. I think we used Gym of the Hills on point for some meetings, and we have not been using them, so.
But if we had a particularly hot topic, we might have this room.
Right,
Okay,
so,
all right, something to think about that.
yeah, so then,
Yes, okay.
and we can go in more.
And one of the things I'll just mention is, I think I've mentioned this before, and not everybody appreciates it, but it is good to be as close as you can. But in the end, you probably want an extra 2 or 3% in the budget, so that you don't bust through the budget. So sometimes there are numbers, you know, a few dollars more. It's not because we're trying to be deceiving. It's just because when you look at a budget, you don't really want to bust through it. So you want to make sure that you have enough, and then, you know, you only have a little bit more than you need. And that's kind of what we're looking at.
Well, I think doing that, we had an account contingency, and we can always maybe look at those accounts that we're not using, and we classify that as contingency. If something happens to council and we've got to spend a little bit more money in a certain place, we have that allocated under contingency
As opposed to separate line items.
as opposed to separate line item. That's again, the only thing, again, the drawback of contingency.
We might
It
prefer it in a
becomes
separate.
a dumping bill.
I'm not suggesting we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to go to city administration, before we get started, I want to explain why there's an addition in city administration. And this having, I know I've talked to some council members about this, but we hadn't had I haven't asked for this yet. But one of the things that we have 5 people that are currently on staff. We have a court clerk who's also our deputy that's here tonight. We have the city secretary, finance, myself, and then we've also got Selena, who does our basically she does 2 jobs. It says that she does utility billing, and then she also works with the permit. So one of the things I think is missing or not happening, and council, you can certainly agree or not agree, is I really want to focus on always answering the phone, one thing, and then always having somebody up front that can make the bill specifically. We're looking at a position, the finance would create a position, looking at a position that would only answer phones and also have just the straight utility going. So if you create a position like that, that's kind of a entry level position. You look at maybe $20 or $21 an hour, and then on top of that benefits. That with benefits, you're talking about maybe $43,000 base salary. Benefits gets you to about 70. The idea was to take half of that and put it in administration under general fund and put half of that in the enterprise. We believe we'll have the money in enterprise because we're moving away from Infomar. That will free up some money.
Well, very much look for this extra 21,000 here.
So, yeah, and I just want to be real transparent. That's why, because if you look at salaries and there's a $31,000 variant, you're gonna go, well, who's getting the big raise? Well, there's no big raise. That's half a person or half a position. That's right. So I just wanted, before we go through this, I want to be, and then when we go through, if we get to it tonight, when we go through enterprise, there's gonna be the same thing I pointed out. I just don't want anyone to be surprised and go, where did that $20,000 go? That's pretty common. So, okay, so we're going through here. Does anyone have any questions on just the first part, personnel services of city administration?
The only thing I have to ask about that is if it's considered, if either a smaller amount or significantly similar into given the employees, could the additional workload be a little considered like we have now? See the necessity of additional.
I think everybody's working really hard. I think, and I'll just tell you my opinion, you could certainly ask offline other employees. I think that what happens is between people having vacations, the training that we're having to do, the additional TIRs, all the different work we have, it's busier today than it was 2 years ago. And I think we're at this time at the point, we're probably at the point last year where we needed half a person, but then now we're at the point where you could justify a full person. I'll say if that doesn't happen this year, might be able to live with it, except for the fact that things like you need to answer your phone. You need to always be upfront to provide excellent customer service. Those things will get a little bit less over time. We'll have to do it next year, but I'm asking for it this year, but it isn't, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but it is justified. I think staff have kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
Not just ask because I would always be more inclined to take care of the employees we have and add more. Sure, that doesn't always fix the problem.
And that's a good point, but from what I'm seeing, we're at kind of the limit of, because we do want people to take their vacation. I would never say to somebody, you can't take your vacation because, sometimes we don't have coverage, but I would hate to have to do that because, if people get 15 days off or 12 days off, they should be able to take a majority of them. It's starting to be where we're, and we'll talk a little bit more about PD when we get there, but that is what happens in departments when there's not enough people. They start not taking it.
Well, we have to get Jerry to chain them to the desk.
We already done that now.
What's the title of that position?
It would be we haven't decided that, and that's but probably a receptionist and permit clerk.
Yeah, administrative
Clerk. It would be an entry level. So right now we have a customer service representative, and that person, Selena, that person both does permitting and utility payments. This person would be specifically utility payments and answering the phone.
That's Selena did.
I do.
I don't know.
Okay, so let me see if I can explain it a little bit. What Haley does is she works on the utility payments, the actual bills, when you get the stuff from the portal and when you get the actual bills, she put together the program, she's working on it. She also helps, Selena with some, some of the utility payments. But when people actually come in,
That's me.
that would be you, and sometimes Jose is there too, if you're,
Yeah, I've done, yeah, I mean,
But the
I'm not
answer
just the finance
So
director.
this is about somebody not having to leave their desk to come deal with me, right?
no, it's,
I mean, that's not a.
so if she's helping you, she can't answer the phone.
No, I understand, yeah.
And we've had, again, we're working hard. I think we've gotten better, but probably not where council and myself, I don't think we've gotten to the point where we're at 95%. I mean,
I can tell you, at least from my experience, just personally, because I don't get the calls for court or for billing, the calls roll over to me because my phone's available. So I take the calls. And people will, and what complaint is, are you going that's working in the office today? Because you don't answer your phones. That's well, I'm gonna answer the phone no matter what. I just do. It's whether it's for me or not, and I will try my best to help them. So, but the one complaint is, not answering the phone or not returning calls or voicemails that are full. Or set up. So that's just my personal position. A lot of times in gaming, I work together on Fridays when other staff on the night league, they're not there. We do our fair share of receiving the bill. I do, and he does as well. No, it's not hard, but it can get complicated at times. And with me not knowing everything about the billing, there are times that I go, hey, I don't understand what I need to be doing. I want to help, but I just don't know. It's not.
That's why the entry level, that's why it'd be an entry level position. Because like Taylor just said, it's not hard, but it does take time. I mean, it may take, sometimes people just drop it off and it takes 10 seconds, or sometimes someone wants to look at their bill, or someone thinks they got overcharged for something, and that happens sometimes. And, I like to think that we don't make mistakes, but I'm sure we've done a few.
Or they need a usage report.
Well, let's come back to this, but in my opinion, but again, this represents half the cost.
This is a half the cost, and you're gonna see the other half. Again, but nothing has to be accepted tonight. You can just look at things and say, yeah, so it's half and half in the city administration, and it's gonna be half in the enterprise.
Okay.
And I'm taking into these are the dental, health, life, vision. All these expenses here are actual expenses. What we're paying now to TMRS is what we expect to pay next year. Dental,
Health went up 9%.
health premiums went up 9% this year, but dental and vision
You said went down.
went down. So, but not enough to offset the 9%. That's pretty sizable. As you can tell, it's up by $8,600. So that's pretty substantial, 9%. So yeah, those are real numbers. Social Security and Medicare, Social Security at 6.2% and Medicare 1.45%. Those are actual numbers. And again, salaries are based on actual salaries that we're currently making, and 3% increase. But again, that's up to the discretion of supervisors as far as we budget.
So the salary,
You may have 2% or you might get 5%, but in the end, it's going to average out about
Do we have a three or do we have a three? What do we have that? What's the percentage you put the salaries
I
at?
think
Three or
three, I'm not sure, it might be 3.5.
I think it's 3.5, but that you'll go.
3.5?
Okay, I think it's 3.5. Is there any other questions on personal services? If not, then we'll go to the other part of city administration. Any other questions? Supply expenses and software and maintenance. Thing. Okay.
That's right, a lot this year.
Yes, right. I mean, cleaning supplies, office supplies, those are all kind of the same, but without even looking at software and maintenance, I know we've gone up a lot on that because of cybersecurity and some of the other stuff.
You guys are at 97% on $242.
Yeah.
No, but that's true. That's right. Do we expect the $750 in the next year? I think we probably.
I'm gonna need another chair because there's a chair that has a bunch of stuff that keeps falling off. So but that's actually coming this year's budget. But,
We will probably exceed this year's budget with, some of the items that we purchased this year. And again, to make staff, help staff, we've got, elevated desks where they're able to stand and work. But, yeah,
did that, the menu all set.
yeah, I mean, also, we don't stand. I mean, I can look that number is maybe
$750 for furniture. That needs to be done.
yeah, and supplies as well. And on supplies kind of deceiving because that also includes, paper towels, toilet paper, got to hit on that. Never mind. Let's skip that. But yeah, so that it's kind of deceiving. It's not just pens and paper. And we go through, that's the one thing that I wish that we would look at seriously is, we go through lots of paper. And Haley knows because she buys it. We go through a lot of paper. So, yeah, it's just stuff.
Any solution or suggestion? Can we do anything more electronically with lead paper?
We could do a lot of electronic. That would involve,
We look at what we purchase, like you purchase a Sam's Club versus.
yeah, that's the other thing I was saying more, maybe, so we're buying supplies now through Amazon, and Haley does a really good job of trying to look for the best prices on stuff, but maybe think about getting a Sam's machine. Since we deal in bulk anyway. We go through a lot of supply, maybe looking at that as an option. Yeah, and save a little bit of money.
I wonder if there is a program through GML or anything that gives you a discount on office supplies. And I'm just saying that because there was one through Texas Realtors that gave us
I can ask.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing TNO was really good about, sharing those kinds of.
that,
My board.
yeah.
My board.
So other services, I know we've gone up on appreciation, some of the birthday staff meetings, maybe employee of the month. Again, questions about that, and then there's some other charges. Everything's a little bit, but that was the big one that went up.
You feel the increase is adequate enough?
On appreciation, yes.
That's,
Can I just ask a stupid question? What is qualification?
I'm sorry.
congregation.
Oh, convocation is when when it goes to, your ordinances go to, I can't think of the name of the code. Your code.
General code.
General code, I think that's what that is.
General code.
Yes.
Oh,
I haven't looked that one up. I have no idea what that was.
okay. Thank you.
I have a question about minor equipment. We've got $500 down there. The, police department has $58,500. What's minor equipment?
Were you asking the difference between theirs or ours?
No, I'm just asking what is minor equipment? What do y'all spend $58,000 on minor equipment?
Well, we haven't quite got the PD yet, right?
Well,
But I'm ready whenever y'all are.
City administration has $500 for minor equipment. The police department has $58,500.
Let's start minor.
Yeah.
What minor equipment?
Stapler,
Well, no,
No.
it'd be like, shredders. We bought a new shredder. Yeah, it'd be minor.
so we bought a new shredder,
Anything for the office that wouldn't fall under office.
but we're not, PD's gonna be a lot there, we'll have to
Yeah,
talk
but we're
about
talking
that.
about
That's,
that. We know what that is.
Okay. It's something that was not planned.
Yeah, it wasn't planned for.
Right, okay. And $58,000 for the police department?
Well, maybe we finish up and then, because police is next, we're almost
Yeah,
there.
yes, sir.
We're almost there.
So it doesn't sound like there's any more questions that you would have on other services. If there are, I'll mention it now, but,
Van Great deals, professional fees, but I see that's the clear cut, the budgeting software we did, and the website.
Yeah, and if y'all remember the first year of ClearGov, we were able to, include that in last year's budget. So we didn't see it hit this year, but this coming year, we will have to see, unfortunately.
But we do anticipate that increase for the next year.
Yeah, and I can look at that and give you a breakdown of what we've done this year. But yeah, that's pretty close to what we're gonna do.
one thing you may want to set aside and look at the next meeting, there knows there's a lot of questions about it, even though you haven't mentioned it yet now, but I still have questions about it, is we have a legal fee that's a moving target, and the legal fees are in different areas. There's one here, and there's also two in water and sewer. So we could set aside a legal fee issue and then discuss that at the next meeting, or we can discuss it now, but I do know, we do have, with things that have happened, we have had a legal fee that has, well,
I'll give you just a quick one on professional fees. Mayor and President just signed a check for $4,000. Again, unexpected, but that was the architectural work that was done on the fire station.
on the fire.
So, I mean, yeah, that's 35,000. We'll definitely use most of that or all of it.
Now, I don't mind talking about legal fees later, but is that including the water treatment plant where we are suing?
Yeah,
Well, you'll see
That's
that.
busted up over different funds.
Yeah,
There's legal
that's-
fees and
that's over-
more
that's
than
over-
that.
Okay,
It's
so
for-
they, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, Enterprise has a legal fee, but that's where
That's where that.
that's what that's.
this would create from things like this annexation, would be things like, extensive PIRs that we've had. By the way, we're not the only town in Texas that's been dealing with that. There's almost every town in the state has had increases. There's a lot of discussions with city administrators and managers about that. So in this particular area, the legal on administration is mainly, like I said, add addition to the PIRs and things like that. And when we have a lot of that, that's the increase. And so on the lawsuit side for the water plant, that big fee has come from, it's really on the water side.
That's all. Thank you.
I am glad we mentioned that though. Good question. Over the last 4 years, how many times have we gone over the budget for biggest fee?
Probably every year.
Every year. Okay. Are we, realistically budgeting enough increase in there? What did we add? $10,000. $10,000, the increase of what we're expecting next year's budget to be instead. What we have right now this year.
The answer is I don't know, because it's hard to say what's gonna happen, whether there's, one litigant can give you a $20,000 or $25,000 pickup. You could have a few months where there's nothing. I mean, we've had, and I'll be honest with you, and I think I've said this to you, we have a list of the 4 or 5 main attorneys we've used over the last 4 years. If you look at our city attorney, his numbers have been where we've asked them to be, which is right below $100,000. The other fees are coming from, if we're getting a specialized attorney, and or we're getting a water attorney for the suit against ECS. So the answer is we're probably under budgeting for the legal. But generally, how we make up for it is from turnover from the police department. That's the truth. Because you'll see that here in a few minutes. Police departments usually under budget because they're usually not a full staff. And that's kind of so that's how we save money, but we're not saving money.
I don't like under forecasting. I don't see a lot of what's happening, even though they're kind of one-time incidents. See a big events. So I think that we're under budgeting. Yeah. Something to think about. Doesn't mean we need to change the number right now, but I think it's something.
I would probably.
I will highlight legal fees. Say for the public's benefit, we struggle to make the best fiduciary decision for the citizens, whether the legal fees justify the expense, whether the expense justifies the outcome.
Exactly.
There are cases where we have settled.
We still need to properly budget.
No, I agree. I'm not taking anything away from that.
And I'll go over that.
So I want to make sure we're based on.
Sure.
I appreciate that. Because
Absolutely.
I think we're at the very end of administration. If there's any other questions or suggestions from the board. Thank you. Okay, so let's take a look at police. And what we try to do is we try to budget from, I'm just gonna kind of talk a little bit, a few years ago, the police department was at 12 total employees. Today, you're at 10 employees. I think it's been that way for a couple of years. Basically, you have a police chief, you have a lieutenant, an admin, and then there's 7 officers. What I do want to mention to you is why that is important and what we're looking at. So PD has, and I think it's important for you to hear it from me, and then you, of course, ask questions of the chief or LC. But, we have 168 hours in a week. You strive to at least have one officer continuous 24/7 in patrol, and then there's certain hours, we won't talk about when they are, but there's probably hours that there's 2 officers patrolling, but we're trying to always have one. And you look at 168-hour week with 42-hour officer weeks, and I know with a Panama schedule, it's 60 and 24, and it's basically 3-2-2-3. But when you look at that you say, oh, I need 5 officers, but you actually need 6 to 7 to make all of this work, because then you're looking at 12 to 15 vacation days, holiday time. There's an extra day for probably 2 days of sick, and there's probably 3 to 4 training days per officer per year. So when you look at all those things, that is why we're looking at a minimum of 10 people in the police department. And that's at least the way I would look at it. I'm sure other people look at it a little differently, but that is when we took top priority and safety. That is kind of why we have set it up this way a couple of years ago. And as far as I know, there hasn't been a lot of additional requests from the department. If you want to kind of look at this, I will shut up now, but if you want to look at personnel services, I'm willing to answer the question. Sure.
Just for clarification, the difference between the amount of staff we have currently and what we budgeted for?
I believe we have 9 total people in the police department right now. We have 1 position open.
Correct.
Yes.
1 officer position open. Yes. Okay. So 10 is what we budgeted for.
Yes.
And we have 9 people current.
Correct.
How long has the position been open?
Approximately 6 months.
And
We have an applicant that's in process right now, undergoing a background investigation.
And you done the interviews already, Chief?
No, sir. The background investigator just came in today.
Well, I have an issue with it. When, $1 million plus for the police department, I believe is just really excessive for a small rural community like we have. And all that, majority of all that, is going towards personnel. And so even 10 police officers is putting us really over the line. $1 million for a police department. I just can't, to me, that just doesn't make sense. Now, police are a priority, sure. But, 51% of all our ones that police department. I'm sorry, it's just, doesn't make sense to me.
Councilman, I know, I received the same email you did with that you requested this start.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that, Dorothy.
Let's do that.
Expenses are expenses, yes. Right. Budget items are budget items, correct? So let's talk about the real chart. This one shows the police department at 51% of the general fund.
Right.
But now let's combine funds. Let's talk about all the funds. Let's talk about this one. This is the actual budget. The blue represents public works, or what will be public works, versus my 23%, not 51.
Okay. well,
I
get
understand
that
it's two,
information.
I understand it's 2 different.
All
I
I'm looking at
understand.
is that, according to the budget, it's $1,157,000 to the police, and that only leaves, that's less than, that's 150.
Council, how much can you define how much an officer stops crime?
Oh, that's not the question. There is no crime in Blanco. You've done a wonderful job of stopping crime. But statistically speaking, we have 0 crime. There was 1 arrest last month for a misdemeanor.
Chief, before we go into this, I want to give the rest of the council an opportunity to discuss this, and we'll give you an opportunity at the end of this portion of the PD to talk. So I'll give them another opportunity, okay?
That's what I would like. It's the need that we have. We really need $1 million.
Where would you want to cut the police department?
It would have to be in personnel, because that's where all the money seems to be going.
Do you want to cut down the officers to secure the city and make them safe because they've got 0 crime rate?
Yeah,
So then the crime rate goes up and we have less officers.
and then we can increase the number of officers if necessary, but I have not seen any indication in any of the statistics. Monthly statistics.
I like the crime reports because what they're doing a good job.
Yeah, yes.
Keep it up.
Wow. Not at $1 million a year, sir. I mean, we spend all of our money on the police department. We have nothing left for anything else.
As the chief gives us a breakdown of what the cost of them is, besides person.
Well,
You can't, so they're waiting 6 months to have what happens.
I only want the city council to sit back and look at this budget, $1 million, look at the police department and decide whether or not we need to continue to carry along this large police unit. Or whether we can reduce it down to a more economical size.
I appreciate your perspective, Councilmember McKee. I think, the standard we've looked at in the past is the idea of having 2 officers per shift as the standard we wanted. And we don't have that currently. I take it all the time. Correct.
And you're not gonna have it with the 7 officers. You need probably 9 or 10 to get there.
And I'm looking at past history of police department in Blanco, and we have only had this many officers for the 5 years.
We also have one of the worst reputations for a police department anywhere in the region.
For what I'm talking.
We had a very poor reputation. Our police department had a terrible reputation.
Yeah,
With all of our AJ staff, and if anybody wants to correct me, they can. I'm talking a long time
no,
ago.
I agree. Yeah, that's why.
But we're in a completely different position now than we were previously.
That's because we just.
Our staff,
people.
with professionals.
I'm sure, Chief Thornhill would be able to handle any side of the department, and manage it well. And so, with professional on duty to handle the department, we just don't need. He can handle a small, police department just at the dollars he can handle $1 million.
The last time the police department kind of emptied out, I saw some very fatigued individuals. I do not want the folks that are, and I'm not arguing with you. This is just my point. I'll stand back from it, but I do not want the people that we are trusting with our safety to be tired when they are on the shift. So that would be one of the justifications for how we are where we are.
Yeah.
And the only last thing I'll say is this is what we do. This is what the city of Blanco does. This is when you look at what we provide. Police, that's a biggie for us. Other than that, it's water and wastewater, and that's what our budget really reflects.
Under these circumstances, then we're trying to pay $1 million plus forever.
Probably.
All over half of our revenue forever if we go to the police department.
Well,
I mean, that's
the revenue
that's
will go with
acceptable.
some of the expenses.
To everybody, that's fine, but I can see so much more money that we can, of the needs that we can use money for.
I want to see it cut down too, but I mean, we don't have but 1 officer on a shift during the day, or at night. And if you cut down on them, then you're gonna have, what are you gonna do? You're gonna hire, rent cops?
I'm thinking about cutting back to a point like we had 6 years ago with taking into account that we had some lousy police reports. But, we went back to that numbers again with professional people on hand that, we just wouldn't need. We spend millions.
Bill, 6 years ago, population was different and crime rate was different.
Well, that's at this point now, we have no crime rate.
Because
That's right, they done a great job. Okay.
No, I do like facts and I do like statistics. I will say that I do have a very low crime rate right now, and I will say that our police is doing an excellent job. I also would say that 6 months, 1 officer door. Don't want to go into positions or anything, but I'd be considered of the idea of maybe not going moving forward because the track record has been proven the job getting done with last 6 months. I'm not saying we make that adjustment right now, but I'd like to put some more thought into it and think about it. That would be my middle ground. I'm getting rid of a bunch of police officers that sacrifice safety of the city because you're right, that is duty to provide that.
Number one.
But I also want to be, usually responsible. I'd go as far as considering his. But I'm not ready to make that decision here.
This is the first budget meeting, but, something else might cut one officer. You know, we're going back, I remember a couple of mayors back, we're going to show up to the police department, but getting rid of one officer now. If I was on duty, I'd say, they're trying to set us all out, so I'm just. We'll have to drop morale for one thing, but then you got other officers say, okay, I'll go on, go over here to San Marcos. They're all certified officers, they can go anywhere they want to.
And most of them are. Most of them do leave.
Yeah.
And go somewhere else for a better job.
6 months ago, we had to get somebody.
That's where, once again, I'd ask the same question. I'd be more inclined to pay the officers that I have. Like I said, no final decision. I appreciate you bringing that up.
The only thing that I would, and Chief and LT, probably support this is, you know, we decided to cut the overtime budget last year. And you can see the consequences of not having that additional staff is the overtime has already exceeded what we budgeted last year. 128. Yeah, so, and the year's not over yet, so. You know, you're sacrificing that officer for, the overtime having to go up. It's just.
Which might be cost of half an officer. Plus, I've also mentioned something, and then I'm gonna be done with it, but, when people leave, because we saw this 2 years ago, it's not your best officer, it's not your best officers that stay, it's your best officer that leave, and same with employees. So when we look at morale, the people that can go will go. So that's just a thing to think about, but.
And I'll say that it's getting harder to compete because of surrounding agencies that have just up their pay. One agency, which I won't name, just up there paid to $77,000, which we're not even close to.
This is why we've had that open position for 6 months.
We would have had that position filled if we weren't competing with those kind of pay rates.
To Councilmember Moses' proposal for us to think about. Can y'all, tell us what the difference would be, how you're operating currently, and how you feel to operate with that position filled?
I will tell you that our past the pay, there are several benefits that other departments offer that we don't currently offer. Currently, I'm not allowing officers to take vehicles home with the exception of myself. We have had them. We take our vehicles home. We're also on call 24/7, 7 days a week. Our budget is twice or half of the total general fund because we operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, regardless. We are there. There are times where my officers or myself, my lieutenant, come in to cover night shifts. Most chiefs. Go ask another chief when the last time they worked a night shift. I guarantee you, you're going to get, I'm sorry, I don't work night shift. But I do. The lieutenant does. We're not asking for a lot. All we're asking is for the current support that we have right now. I'm trying not to go backwards. And that's where even talking about these things brings doubt into officers' minds. And why would you want to stay somewhere if you're not paid the same amount as competing agencies and you don't offer the same benefits?
That's why we're talking here to talk.
Those agencies all have take-home cars. I will say one thing that Chief Rubin put in place since when he was here, that my officers love is the fact that we get an hour, each officer gets an hour's worth of pay to work out while on duty, but they're still responsible for calls. We have a nice community area here where certain family, which I'm not going to mention up here, has said, hey, y'all can use our workout facilities free of charge, and they made that happen. So the officers are able to go work out without paying, and that's a burden that the city wasn't paying for. We weren't paying for their membership fees to gyms and stuff like that. This family was just not enough to say, hey, we can work this, and we need to do things. So I'm trying to compete with those other agencies, but I can't come up here and I can't, in good faith, come up here knowing what the budget is and say, Councilman, every one of my employees needs to start out pay at $77,000. Would that be fair?
You're asking me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know. I think that's up to the city council to decide.
And those are the types of things we're competing against, is fair pay. I have officers that have college degrees, and other agencies pay you for college degrees. We don't offer, we have a certificate pay based on your peace officer certificate. I'm a master peace officer. LT's a master peace officer. We're the only two that receive the master peace officer certificate. And there's some talk on the wage. Jose works it out. We have the advanced peace officers. We have intermediate peace officers. We have basic. So you get anything you want. Straight out of the academy cadets. We get there in the same thing. Those are the only certificate based we currently offer. It's those. For those, I don't have, and I'm not asking this council for all the same benefits that other agencies give their employees, but they do have a lot more benefits than what we are. Partners with those agencies. And every day I'm seeing more and more agencies going up on their starting pay. Any of my officers right now can leave here. Over the Dallas Fort Worth area, you start out at $100,000 is the cheapest. Which is significant.
Chief, can you guesstimate what the one position that's unfilled, all in salary, training, benefits, retirement, like everything? What does that dollar amount represent approximately? Well,
$2,000.
Okay.
In a year.
That's what we're talking, right? For just some clarification. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's
What I'm asking for is that it's only the city council that can determine the amount of police officers. They are asking for the city council to discuss the size of the police department and determine whether or not we can cut it, or have a smaller police department. If we reduce it by half, well, that'd be a savings of $500,000 right off the bat. And I'm not asking to go out and fire anybody. We need to accept this budget as it's written, because we have commitments to the officers who are already employed. But if the city council reduce the number, then going forward, as these officers decide to go to Dallas or wherever else, those positions would just not be refilled. And through attrition, we would get down to a new level of staff. And it might take a year each time a police officer left, that's already, that would be a significant, savings and reduction in cost.
How much are you looking at to cut?
I'm sorry,
How much financially are you looking to cut?
I'm not. I'm asking the city council to look at the police department and decide what we need here in Blanco. And make the police department appropriate for those.
I mean, we have the, I mean, we've been down this road in the recent past. We know what happens. We've been down this road. When the police department was decimated. I mean, it just,
We decided to have one work toward 2 officers per shift.
it wasn't council.
Well, I'd say that, you know, this is our first meeting for the budget and it's.
Okay,
Do you have any questions on supply and expenses? I don't think there's any real big difference here. I'm not seeing anything that jumps out on the page unless other council members do.
Well, I'm so curious about minor equipment. $58,000.
Yeah, yes, sir. It was brought to my attention that you were concerned about this a while back, so I want to go ahead and address it. It was voiced to me that you felt like I was trying to spend $500,000 on a contract. To be more precise about that contract, what I'm trying to do is those are already pre-existing contracts that this council has with that company. It's just we have multiple contracts and for that amount of money. I'm just trying to combine them into one contract so that Jose only gets one bill and he only has to make one check. Versus
I've never read any questions about taking that item, so there was no conversation.
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get all these contracts into one consolidated contract. And there is a small uptick in that contract because our tasers, this taser is from 2013 and it's being, phased out, tased out. Come next year, though they won't service them, they won't insure them, they won't replace them, and they won't make cartridges for them. So the slight increase that you saw, the 10,000.
9/11.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Where are we? Minor equipment.
Minor
Oh,
equipment.
that's for so minor equipment. Okay, thank you.
Minor equipment covers all my contracts for our equipment that we use, which includes our body cameras, our tasers, everything that's covered by Axon is minor equipment. The reason it's titled minor equipment is because I'm like, Councilman Brakehill, or sorry, Mayor Brakehill, I like to simplify things. I like to combine everything into one if it's dealing with the same issue.
So that's all you could.
Yes,
I have one.
I actually moved $1,000 from my training budget into ammunition because I wanted it earmarked for ammunition. And that's the only reason I moved.
So that's a new line item.
Well, no, it's been there for a long time. It's just, it was, Scott Rubin likes to throw everything into a group too.
Okay.
But I need to itemize ammunition because it is a federal, you have to have a FFL license to purchase and sell federal firearms. And so I moved it into a line item.
And we have purchased ammunition, it's just been going into
That training.
Training check.
Well, that's that kind of.
So I just wanted to move it and break it out.
Okay, sure.
He's not sitting around with no bullets.
Correct.
Yeah, we're not hardly fighting, we're not hardly fighting, we're not hardly fighting.
I just wanted to make sure that $1,000 was earmarked for training and ammunition, because my guys are required to shoot annually.
Well, I can't buy very much. I know when I go out and buy ammunition, it's expensive.
Yes, sir, that's why we go through FFL dealers to get it, because we can buy it in bulk.
And Officer Saltmarsh has been, he actually has been looking for the best pricing out for ammunition, for their training ammunition, so he's done a really good job of finding a vendor.
That's.
That's
We
kind of
don't
what I like. Charles Waxman's really good at it.
I get that, but that's a legal issue I don't want to go down. I would need my own legal, line item, you know.
Fall under law enforcement liability.
Actually, I believe that one's TML.
Yeah, it's TNO, that's our insurance, which is something that as council, we can consider. We have the majority of our insurance under non-departmental. So that could, I mean, that's a thought. Again, how you want to see things presented, that could be moved to non-departmental, where the majority of our other insurances. It's just cosmetics, it's all really well. That's just, you know, that's not.
You like.
I like that
I
idea just
understand
because I want to be transparent with people and let them see where the money's going.
Yeah, there's a couple of them, I think. Law enforcement, there's another.
There's not another one, but there is one that I have to address. Go down slightly.
Okay.
You will see dispatch fees, county dispatch.
Oh, right, yeah.
It goes up 3.5% every year. And I have no control over that. There are certain line items on here I have no control over. They just go up 3.5%. And I can't tell those. So that the council knows, I have cut my budget every year by as much as I possibly can without cutting my own artery. So I don't ask for more. I try to get it through grants or, other than, donations or whatever.
Yeah, I can see one I know that's gonna change, it's gonna come down, and that's interest on the car, as we're paying that car off, the interest is gonna go down, not gonna go up, so that number's gonna come down. Not all. They qualify that. Interest expense, yeah, 58.15.
I am,
So if the dispatcher, are we back with the county?
we are not like,
Okay.
they are
County just doing daylight,
just doing daylight.
and then it goes to Marble Falls.
That's what I thought.
Falls is handling
I thought Marlon Hall was trying to take those.
TSD has to pay that same way too.
You're not just calling in from.
Well, the problem is when it goes to nighttime dispatch, that dispatch fails to put property certain accounts. Anytime an officer is in a pursuit, which is rare, I am to be notified immediately. And their county dispatch over in first county. Get my number down correctly.
Well, it's just gonna do that. They don't do the rest of it.
Involved in crack, so there's no people. So we have procedures, we have. Ensure. Responsibility on the city.
I want to try to get through the general fund tonight. I know there's some other people that are here for other projects.
And just again, from stats perspective, basically, and I don't think this is where we should budget, but we've been benefiting from about just around up to $100,000 that has been budgeted into PD, but we haven't been spending because the position is open.
Right, I mean, I think you probably had, maybe not a full 100, because you probably have 20, all 10 employees, you're probably getting $70,000 to $80,000 of budgeted money that gets redistributed because it's not coming out of this fund. So
Not expected expenditures.
There's other expected expenditure on other places. So if the police department were fully staffed 100% of the time, which very rarely happens, we would probably be in danger of busting up. Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know if this changes very much. Court, you want to kind of go over this?
Yeah, that's not gonna change a whole lot. Again, the big thing was, right now we have Haley that's on duty as, the deputy secretary and the court clerk. So, with that, her increase in pay and that's what that is accounted for. Again, we had not accounted for that in last year's budget. Also, if you go down, you'll see, down. Right there. So right there, I've increased education, and I'll get with Haley and go over this a little bit more. But I try to include stuff that I know that she's doing. She's doing her certification. So, and
It's her city secretary.
City secretary
We really
certification.
need from her. So,
But she still has to keep up her court certification as well, so that includes both. So that's, it's interesting that, but it includes both, so and with her getting certification, that's part of the agreement when she was put in the city secretary, deputy, that she would be able to pursue that certification. I think that's also important. You want to have your city secretary that's certified.
she has done some training, just online from her house. So we've had that benefit as well, but sometimes she has to go somewhere.
Yeah, so she does take advantage of that, so it will go, make sure, I include everything for you. I'll make sure you get the training. So I tried to make some of those adjustments, again, the biggest one being education. But you'll see the uptick, in hotel expense, of stuff that's related to travel with education. And you'll also see an uptick in municipal court collection. And you think that's a bad thing, but it's actually a good thing. That means that, Linebarger, who's been, our collection agency for a while, right?
Yeah, almost 4 years.
Yeah, almost 4 years. This year they've exceeded the budget. They've collected more money, than what we had budgeted for. That's why I put that $500 in that category. For being able to cover the cost for that. But everything else is pretty much related to the education and the certification. Once that certification, she's done with that, it'll still be a little bit of I guess, because she has to say, I guess, continuing education, but that number, you'll see that number drop once she gets the certification.
No other questions on court? Oh, this may be where
Oh, this is
Councilor Victoria kills.
Well, I don't agree.
This is the fun one. This is the fun one. Yeah, so again, in talking with our public works, Kevin. So yeah, I think y'all have all met Kevin. Hopefully y'all. We moved the parks were considered parks and ground maintenance. We moved all of that to Pinnacle. We did keep some of those expenses, but again, those are probably more.
No issue with that.
We're still able to say we're still have a positive.
But does it fall under the scope of that particular fund?
It's, well,
I would, I mean, that'd be something for you to kind of consider. I think the understanding is parks and streets can go under enterprise because it'll be managed by public works or saving money. And the hope is eventually, not this coming year, but I think the next few years, for following, we're hoping to save at least this move about 200,000 or a little bit more in savings, so you can move that. Now, if you as council say, well, no, we really think parks and streets really is in general fund, we can keep that. But I think looking at how that was managed, and it's a new idea, but I do think that is something that you can't justify. A lot of cities, what they'll do is they'll take a percentage and they'll say, in most cities, in the state expert, 12 to 14% of your enterprise goes to pay for your general fund. Here it's like 4%. The only thing you pay for right now is Selena's salary. You actually pay to the enterprise because she deals with enterprise water and sewer. However, you could justify this because this is a change. Something to consider.
It's not unheard of. Other
It's
cities,
not unheard of.
other cities do this. Well, that one's an easy one to get through for the moment.
Function streets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you see that okay, go ahead.
So we're gonna put numbers in.
So there, I moved, traffic and safety, the signage, maintenance and infrastructure, and paving materials, all of which I dropped into the enterprise fund. We were actually, Kevin's proposed budget, we were actually able to drop the maintenance and infrastructure by about $7,000.
So those, the next one you print out, those line items will not be in this.
Right, well, I mean, I'm gonna leave them there just to show that they're gone.
Okay.
Next year, they'll be moved from there.
Okay.
Yeah, next budget.
You're moving 66,525.
Yes, 66,000
To enterprise.
approximately, yeah.
But I know there's several items in enterprise, you're basically moving it.
And we should probably think about moving tree trimming as well. It's tree trimming,
I don't know, we can talk about
yeah,
that.
we kind of,
Any other questions on the other services before we go down the department now?
Are we in the same situation with utilities?
that got moved to non-department.
Okay.
I will move that, I will remove that.
Okay.
Because we haven't used that in the couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you look at it in non-departmental, you'll see utility.
And I would agree that it's a little bit weird to have these ones with no numbers, so maybe we could clean up some.
Yeah, I can remove it.
Move some of these.
Yeah,
Probably help.
absolutely. Yeah, there's not been any activity in the last 2 years, I'll leave it.
So this is what probably some people are here for, some other services. I think we're keeping the library district at where we had it last year. I think it was 15,300. I can't remember what that extra 300 came in, but
Oh, it was a calculation.
Yeah, we did. And, you know, the library actually is only requesting 15,000. They're just asking that they be the standard that's been set for the previous year's fee.
Move that out of 15?
Well, it's just now, just.
I'm just for
That's
notes, I don't want to go back tomorrow, so just for notes.
I think we have the head of the library here with us. Yeah, I think it's state.
Come on up.
We discussed the request with the district board. This is for, like I say, Uncle Cyber from the library director. Blanco County South Library District. When we discussed the budget for the coming year and requests for contributions to the city board.
This is for people that live in our city limits, what was considered the original city limits. And they are members, if they are members, I'm a member. This is the only way the city contributes to that membership. And it roughly aligns with what the state recommends a library should allocate per member. I think you said we have 620 members within the old original city limits of Blanco, is that correct?
The 620 is active participants in the community control city limits, and the state has told us that this year we are to spend $22 per person.
So this is mandated, we have to do.
No.
The library has to.
The library.
I'm opposed to it. You know, the library has its own resources that it collects. There are other places in Blanco, like Good Samaritan Center, the Lions Club, places like that do just as good, if not just as good contributions to our citizens as the library does. And we can't give them anything.
The library provides services that are not found anywhere else in our community.
Well, so, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is just reality. People that are living here in Blanco, maybe on the margins, this is where they go to the computers. This is where they go to print up important documents. The library actually will provide, I believe, photocopies for IRS filings for free. Is that correct?
That's part of what they do.
Children's programming. I was there 2 days ago with my daughter. It just, we are so lucky to have this in our community. I think it would be a missed opportunity for this city to not be a part of something that actually works.
Well,
And Blanco Library does.
I just don't think we need to be paying.
Okay.
I understand. Got their own money coming in, whereas these other ones, like the Good Samaritan Center, are strictly volunteer, strictly contribution, and we can't help them at all. Or because they're a 501c or whatever, we cannot contribute to them at all. But you know, they feed the kids. You know, they're making sure that there's food on the table. You know, they school supplies, Lions Club, all those stuff, all those sorts of things contribute considerably to our young students.
But then we're not talking about those
Huh?
we're not talking about those organizations. We're talking about the library.
I know, and the library's got its own money. And I'm just saying, why do we need to contribute to the library when it has its own resources, but we can't contribute to anybody else? It just doesn't seem fair to me. That's all. So I'm opposed to giving $50.
Yeah, anything to add, Crystal?
Well, this is, I know you're new this year to being a council member, but this was part of an agreement that was between the city and the library since 2002.
It's been going on forever. Nobody wants to stop it.
But it hasn't increased.
That's why.
It's not increasing year over year. In fact, they're requesting less than we allocated last year.
Actually, 1 year range. We had it.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Okay, well,
We,
thanks, Crystal.
Just so I understand the mechanics of assuming they is.
Just kind of, they get every quarter.
Every quarter, gotcha.
It's 38,
I figured.
75, I think, every quarter.
And I think there's been times when it's either every quarter, or I think 1 year that we've asked for a while and we gave it at the very end. It's just one of these things that.
Yeah.
We did have 1 year, we only gave them 1,000, but this is something that we've always provided as a service, they serve the city. And that's an idea.
I don't know if that
One
was
way the city contributes for our members that are within the city
something that you
limits.
proposed, but I like the quarterly. I like the quarterly payments. It's a little bit easier than giving it a one-time lump sum 15,000.
So if we go through this, I think we try to keep the levels at the same, and I know there has been discussion about this. Talk to Pete Powell, keep Blanco beautiful. I think we kept that at the same level. If you want to give another 500, I'm sure you do something with it, but I think that's 2,500. And I know there's gonna be some discussion about streetscape, but what we've done is we try to keep the same level every year. If there's a reason to increase, and I'm sure some folks feel that way, that now we're on top of that. We kept it at the same level as last year. So I think everything else seems pretty close. There hasn't been a lot of changes except on the real personal property. What's that extra charge?
That was the actual, real personal property actually went up. Oh, and we're adding, vehicles, public work vehicles to that. We haven't had that in the past. Again, that's total estimate. We should be getting actual.
That's the insurance.
That's the insurance, that's insurance.
Okay.
On real and personal property. So additional vehicles, equipment. So you will see an uptick in insurance because we have to insure all that.
And we're gonna have, I think, either 6 or 7 new public works vehicles. And that's where that's coming.
Right now, I think Kevin's proposing 4.
For
Eventually, we'll have 5 or 6, yeah. I think at a minimum to get started, he's gonna need 4.
May not need all of the vehicles this
Yes,
budgetary
that's
season.
right. We really, yeah, that's.
Well, understood.
And we're aware that you want 30,000.
Thank you for being thoughtful of that, Jeff.
Yes, another question.
Okay, what?
If I don't understand the state statutes and the rules on enterprise fund versus general fund. But if enterprise fund can do roads and tree trimming and parks, can the enterprise fund do sidewalks around the square?
I don't know anything about, I would think potentially, I mean, in Austin, they use it to erect art, so, you know,
I wouldn't say that we could not use it, but I think one of the problems we have that I see moving forward, right now, trying to delegate any enterprise funds towards streetscape is that we're not even close to safe operating where
it's the problem.
the general fund, we've obviously got more fund balance to work with where we're almost at our 3-month operating balance in fund balance where enterprises. We've had an issue where we've had to move money from one fund to the other just to pay.
We truly don't know. We truly don't know what enterprise is gonna, we think there's gonna be some savings eventually, but we don't know where it truly is gonna be, so we're kind of careful. You know, I think we're transitioning. Kevin's gonna be great. He's really helped us with some financial, but at this point it is a educated guess. So take it back.
So is there anywhere we can find $30,000 for streetscape to keep things good? If we sidewalks and things.
Each township coming up with ideas. That's where I think that budget workshop too is where we really come in.
Yeah, I mean, if you, the council, want to find some things, 5,000 here, 3,000 there, and add another $20,000 to keep Blanco beautiful to 30,000, and that's where you as a council will help the city.
Yeah, and we actually did that last year. We did that last year.
We did do that.
I think Ryan and Rodney led that, where they were able to find some money in certain places, and we were able to move it for signage. We didn't have a signage yet.
We didn't have signage.
And so for clarification, last year we did 10,000, which was, I think, unprecedented for streetscape, right? We had budgeted anything the previous year.
I know, maybe we did 1,000, I don't remember.
Well, so 10,000, so that's
10,000 was a big.
Yeah.
Well, so it's in a fund specifically for streetscaping. It sounds like it hasn't been spent yet, but will be spent.
Well, that's committed, so contract.
That's committed to the design.
Yeah, come to the council to get it.
Yes, they have to come to us to have that checked.
Mine's condemned. The other emphasis that I want. We're not gonna get grants if we can't show them the plan. We don't have, we don't have a plan. So we've got to get something that we can put for donor, or the grant from. Here's what we want to build. It can't just be schematic, pretty picture.
So we've committed 10,000 to the design of the pond, and next phase is
Street and or design.
and design for the pond street will be similar.
Concept of streetscape supposed to be with donations.
Well, it'd be great, because we're sitting the sidewalks belong to the city, and we haven't been able, if we could get it all with donations, that would be,
I know, but
that's what I want to do. I don't want to tax people.
what have you gotten so far from donations?
Grand total will be about 60
I
some thousand,
handed that, you got that out.
60 some thousand. We're talking. Yeah.
We have to raise money for the plan. To fix the sidewalks.
I'd love to do it all, but
I keep hearing about this comprehensive master plan, is it, are y'all coordinating with them?
yes.
But they're not going to help us get money.
They're just gonna say it's a city obligation to have such a walkable community. And
So I just don't know, I don't want the comprehensive master plan saying, what for the streetscapes.
oh, look for this, transportation. I was just part of your transportation. It'll be in your transportation appropriate, which it already is.
But the sidewalks, are you talking about 4th Street?
That's
I'm
not.
talking, well, right now, we're talking about the common, the force funds. That's right, we've got a grant for that. We have a planning grant, to do planning for sidewalks throughout town. We expect the first project is gonna go from high school all the way down 4th Street, all the way around to the grocery store on Blanco Avenue. So that will cover the 4th Street. But tax dot will not pay for things that are not on the state highways.
You see in the polls.
That's right. So,
But the very next thing in front of us is the design phase for Third Street, which again, we think will be approximately the same as the
Yes.
design phase
Yeah.
for Pecan.
and we're gonna continue to do little fundraisers, but we've shown our little fundraisers, we'll make 1,000, 3,000, small amount.
So the number that's in there currently would hopefully cover that next design phase, but the additional 20,000 that you've requested would go towards Third Street, the actual implementation of
the design,
I thought the design would be approximately 10,000.
50,000.
50,000 for
54,500.
for Third?
Yes.
Okay.
And I keep talking about the PEC design. But he wants to move the poles behind the buildings, put them in the ground behind the buildings. We need to sit down with PEC and negotiate that. I want them to pay for all of that design work at a minimum. They have an obligation. We tell them to move the poles off city property, they have to do. So we want to press them to do at least the design to get them out of something. We have to do that sit down.
Is this kind of situation where they came back and said that, for time, speed or whatever it was that, they wanted us to do like high speed?
I'm not sure they ever, I think Morgan and I talked about it.
They wanted
Where
us to
where
spend
the
money
franchise
to give
fees
it
go.
up.
I don't think PEC told us how to pay for it. They just told us we would have to pay. And then we found out that the law said their poles are on our property and we have to make changes to our property. They're required to move it. And we haven't had the next discussion. That's where we're at right now, just to have that discussion.
It sounds like from hearing all the council, maybe we need to try to find about $20,000. Now, I'm just kind of listening, and if we get there, maybe we get half of it for them, but try to find a little something and go to Jose and I can help look at some things.
Yeah.
I don't know if we get all the way
No,
there,
and
but we can try.
I think based they're gonna be short about $4,000 roughly.
Right now, it would be, yeah.
Right now they would be. So, maybe find, $5,000 in there to at least cover that shortage where they're at.
We can easily find five.
One, you've got 15,000.
Let's eliminate phase one, contracts for 54.5. We're gonna have to pay 75% of that at the end of, August. Then the rest of it, the other 25%, we don't have to pay until construction is done. Because they are going to supervise the construction. They're gonna do the inspection.
But it's still.
So we're good for the 75%, but eventually the other 25%.
We're $3,000 short on.
Almost 75%.
But
And we'll raise that a little bit. We'll get it. But I'm worried about the next phase, phase 2, 3rd Street, and I'm worried about the powers.
well, I'm worried about finishing First Street, Common Street, first phase, and then going First Street.
So I think we're kind of at a stopping point, and that leads the mayor and council. We've gone through the enterprise, next we go through, we've gone through everything else, but enterprise and the debt service, and we'll do that next time. 13, 3 o'clock. That will give us about 2 hours as well. If we have to find that we need more time, we'll always schedule another meeting, but I think that will.
Cybersecurity and AI training.
Yeah, we talked about it, never said anything too much sense, and I've been fine.
It's easy when you have good fix. We think it's an easy fix. So
It's an easy fix, council this. We have a 3 o'clock meeting on the 13th. With us 3 o'clock. We have a 6 o'clock meeting for council, and then an hour in between. We'd like to have a half-hour training.
it's a 30-minute video.
30-minute video.
All I have to do is watch it. We don't have to ask any questions, just watch the video.
So that will take care of it, and then we'll make sure that we have dinner for you on. So, but that would actually knock out your cybersecurity, and you don't have to worry about people not taking it. Yeah, that's all good. If you can't take it, then we'll have to, run through that. And that'll be already here, so.
And we've already got 2 staff members taking it. It's a real.
Okay,
You can ask, it's easy.
it's Blair, it's.
It is fun. It is fun.
Is that not a Thursday?
Oh, it's
On that, on August 11th, 3 o'clock, that's our next council meeting, regularly scheduled. So the 3 o'clock meeting will be our budget, and then you have at 5 o'clock, we go to cybersecurity, and we do 6 o'clock. Council. August 11th, Tuesday.
So say you're sending us an email.
I would say it. I get the dates right, sir. Good, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Is there any discussion? Second?
we got one over here.
That's it. All in favor? That's right. All right, Joyce.
Few minutes.
We